All right. Thank you guys very much. We're in the home stretch, guys. Are we all feeling good? Can we get some noise? Yes? All right. So we've learned a lot today, but what we want to close with is all about AI. And we know that AI has transformed pretty much everything, and it's still on track to continue doing that. But you know, if we think about workplaces and the workforce, AI is transforming a lot there. So we have a couple special sessions now. First, a fireside chat, and then a panel. So I want to bring out Axio's product marketing lead, Ziwei Chen, to talk about AI. Ziwei.
Thank you. All right, hello everyone. My name is Ziwei Chen, and I am so glad to have you here with me this afternoon as we dive into a couple of conversations on the intersection between AI and sourcing. And I want to start with the bigger picture when it comes to this agentic AI shift that all of us are in right now. And on that topic, I think there's no better guest to have than Vivienne Wei, who is the Chief Operating Officer, the COO of the Salesforce Unified Agentforce platform. Let's give a round of applause for Vivienne. Welcome, Vivienne. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having me.
This way. All right, I am so excited for this conversation, but I think just to kick us off, maybe for some of our audiences might be familiar with Salesforce, but maybe not as much with Agentforce. So can you start with telling us a little bit more about Agentforce and maybe your role in shaping it?
Yeah, maybe I can start with what is agentic AI? Because I think in 2022, 2023, OpenAI launched. And everybody got this new shiny toy, right? We can use a prompt, and it comes back with a set of information. And right now, it's essentially my new search engine, whether it's OpenAI, Perplexity, across the board. But if I think about what is agentic AI, the biggest difference is agents are actually able to query using the LLMs, but based on the organizational context, take specific actions on your behalf. Now, how do we get there? That's part of, we can dive deeper into it. But if I think about the launch of Agentforce, I go back to September of last year, when during Dreamforce, Mark Benioff launched Salesforce Agentforce. And this is essentially equipping people like yourselves to be able to build agents to take actions on your behalf. Maybe essentially it's initially starting with the lower level of work. Basically, I think about, hey, the repetitive tasks that doesn't require, that have very clear patterns, that don't require a lot of creative thinking, and probably like people like yourselves are too bored to do, right? And if agents are able to take care of that layer, then we can unleash the human potential and use our creativity to think about, okay, how do I launch a new set of product lines? And how do I think about new creative marketing segmentations? And ideally leveraging AI to come up with new segments that I haven't tapped into, but I can experiment rapidly. And then that information goes back into our data system. What we have is the data cloud. Then you have this continuous loop of reinforcement learning to then support you to launch newer products. And my role specifically is what we have built is an entire platform. So if I think about, earlier I mentioned the LLMs. The LLMs are really just a very small component of what it takes to build an AI agent. And if I think about it, really you need an entire agentic AI system grounded with trust, right? Because we think about, security is the most important thing. When you're dealing with customer information, payments information, you have to make sure all of that data is secure. You're protecting that customer data. And then after that, there's, we've heard a lot about, hey, the LLMs can be toxic, right? So very early on, we also built like an entire Einstein trust layer to essentially detect like, hey, what's the toxicity? Are there biases? And I don't want to send any data into the LLMs from my customers, because at the end of the day, that's my secret sauce, right? And all of you are always thinking about, hey, what are the different things I need to specifically design for my customers? What is the innovative product that's going to differentiate me? You don't want all of that information to go to the LLM. So that's why we built this trust layer on top of the platform. Then on top of that, we have Data Cloud, which is essentially you can ingest any customer data from sales, service, marketing, commerce, support, across every single customer touch point. Because guess what? Every time your customer reaches out to you, it's signal. It's either intent to buy, it's interest in exploring what your brand is, it's trying to understand, or it's a complaint. All of that information is super critical. So what we have on Data Cloud built on top of the platform essentially ingests all of that information, processes that information, so you're able to activate based on the data, important customer data you have, to create value. So then with Data Cloud and on top of the agent force, you can use AI agents to activate across sales, service, marketing, commerce, and then there's all kinds of industry verticals. But I think a lot about, what it really means as I scale operations. It's as simple as if you have a commerce website today, customers come to you and complain about something. Do you have a support person or do you have an AI agent? The scaling model is very different. Now, from a sales new product launch perspective, you can look at your customer demographics, segment them, right? Maybe I'm a mom who also has a full-time job, who has buyer intent because I have younger kids. They're really into K-pop Demon Hunters. And maybe based on the information you know about me and the fact that my kids are really into K-pop nowadays, you can recommend products to me. For example, Halloween is coming up. We're actively looking at Halloween costumes. My kids are like, okay, I want to be Rumi, and there's Zoe. And right now, my kids are spending time searching. In my ideal world for the future, an AI agent will proactively send an email and be like, hey, I just saw you watch this movie. Your kids have seen it 10 times on Netflix. And Halloween is coming up. Here's a set of products I would recommend for Halloween readiness. That is my future vision. So what that frees up for me is I don't have to spend time shopping with my kids. And I can spend time coming and talk to you, sharing agentic AI knowledge, right? And then my kids' desires are already met and it's proactive. And my life quality is better because I just need to show up and the products show up at my door. That's the future.
Yeah, I love that. I think the word that you use is freeing up, in the sense that there are things that we have been doing or we were doing that now can be taken over by the agents with more time that we can do on something else. But I think in this dynamic, I have a question. I don't know if agents would have feelings, but does it mean that agents would have a limit of what things they can do while the rest are left for the humans? How do you see this dynamic between human and agent collaboration?
There's definitely a lot of limits on what agents can do, okay? Let's not fool ourselves. For where we are in terms of the agentic AI revolution, I think the very first step is, and we ourselves have gone through it, if you go on the Salesforce help website, you will have a help agent. And right now, it's deflecting 85% of our customer support cases. Did we get there right away? No. it's taken months. And what did it require? Like, what did it take for us to do? Of course, building the technology, but also, you think about we're creating a new market that didn't exist before in September. Who created them? It's human. It's all of us. We've had to reshape like what it takes, right? We've had to build up a team that are building those agents, that are monitoring the agent performance, and we've actively, unlike managing managing agents that are customer facing, you actually need to look at what are these agents doing and constantly tweaking, and it's 24/7, right? And then over time, we sent out more traffic for agents to take on, and now I think last 3 weeks ago, we've handled more agent support case resolutions than human conversations. What is that last 15%? A lot of the cases are getting escalated to human because they're highly complex, maybe across different clouds, different contracts that agents just can't handle. Now, who designs when to escalate, what to escalate, and when it's not appropriate to escalate? Again, it's human. So if you think about it, okay, so it's the design of the agents and then the management of agents. All of that requires a new set of jobs, right? And maybe for small business owners, it's, outsourced business, some managed service that's doing this agent. I don't want to deal with it, but hopefully it provides a cost that's lower than if I were to hire like 5 support people to do this job, because you're doing this value creation and comparison analysis, right? But that's kind of how I think about where we are. We're still in very early phases of building agents, testing them, improving them, so they can unleash our human potential.
Yeah, I love that, because it sounds like what I'm also hearing is that there's an element of the builders themselves need to make sure they have deep knowledge of the end users, like what is the experience like, for example, for the sales or support team like. So it does seem like there's an opportunity from a leader's perspective on the deep knowledge of what our end users actually really need. And what I saw last week is that Salesforce just launched their Agentforce for manufacturing and public sector, so at least 2 vertical-focused agent products. So tell us a little bit more about why were there a focus on vertical-specific products, and maybe what are some of the thought behind it?
Yeah, the agent, we always talk about agents are only as good as the data that power the agents. And if I think about, specific verticals, it's actually very complex. Like dealing with a manufacturing business, the context, the terminologies are all different from a healthcare system. The regulations are different, and that is why we built and launched the manufacturing cloud for Agentforce for manufacturing cloud, and all these out-of-the-box specific agents, because of the amount of industry-specific knowledge we have had over the course of the last 25 years, so that we can use that knowledge to build out-of-the-box tools and agents to support our customers so they can get hands-on, right? Sometimes you don't always see all of the other manufacturing businesses, like what are the things to consider. And when you go into an agent builder, there's a lot of a specific set of prompts that's already been designed to you. But obviously, you need to take it with your organizational specific context and tweak them to make it specific. Remember, there's that special company sauce you want to create to amplify the knowledge and the power of the agents.
Yeah, I love that part, and I think it's really relevant for us today at CoCreate, as many of you might not be manufacturers yourselves, but you might be working directly with manufacturers, and there's values in your experience finding those suppliers and how that experience is. And from Alibaba.com's perspective, that's why we have been focused on the other side of the story of, okay, in addition to what the manufacturers are dealing with, what are their pain points that Agents Force are trying to solve for them? And also from our end, how can Axio address the challenges that all of you might have in finding the suppliers, negotiating with them, and making sure you can bring your ideas to life? And in this process, I'm curious, through the emergence of agents, various verticals, various tasks, what are the eventual values you are seeing that people are having that aha moment of, because of the emergence of agent, how is my life being different, or how my businesses could be different?
I mean, at the end of the day, I think about, hey, how do I drive growth for the business, right? So there's this term called agentic-led growth. And what does that mean? You really want to focus on sales and marketing engine, right? So we ourselves have used our own sales agent and marketing agent, particularly in the marketing space. You know, it's very complex. There's, you know, all of the social platforms, and then obviously like 3 or 4 different platforms for advertising. So we're able to build on top of our own data cloud, partnered with Google, Amazon, TikTok, all these Meta, the different players, to essentially have the data back from those activation platforms about certain advertising effectiveness, okay? If I have that type of advertising effectiveness across multiple platforms, and over time help customers build their own first-party customer data, right? Because my own customers are the most important assets I could have as a business owner. Then the world is kind of your oyster, because you can then gather more information based on all the touch points I told you about, shopping patterns, how they react to certain advertisement, how they react to the emails you've sent to them, how they enjoy the product or dislike the product, right? All these buying patterns, these are all data signals. Every time you have more data signals and you bring it into the platform, you can run segmentation. And in fact, we have AI that automatically give you a set of segmentation recommendations. Now, this is like AI unleashing the power of customer data, so then you can be more creative in thinking about, okay, based on these new cohorts, I ran a special campaign based on these new cohorts. It seems like this working mom also started playing golf, and maybe I should recommend a set of golf products if it's within my inventory, right? So then, okay, all of a sudden, your advertising campaigns are have higher ROIs, because you can tweak those campaigns, right? Be more targeted. And on top of that, you're getting new product insights to then source on Alibaba and other places to then sell to the customers.
Yeah, 100%. I think what I've been hearing today just on the ground is that sometimes as end users, we know in the beginning when we have support or AI products, we want them to automate what I already know how to do. I know how to do this 100 times, so follow it through. But now I feel like our users are no longer satisfied by just you doing what I told you to do, but instead tell me what I don't know, ask me questions or make me ask questions I never know I had to, and also impress me and wow me on things that I never have thought about. So that combination of still improving efficiency, but also opening up new growth, as you have mentioned, on things that you have never thought about, has been the new expectation, if you will, among our audience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, we want the economy to grow. We want your businesses to thrive. And that's how we need to be using AI agents, right? Because otherwise, I think the patterns you're talking about is more in the predictive, rule-based automation. And that is, in my mind, like, so 2020, we're in a very different era now. And the other thing is with data, that cycle becomes really short. You can get really good feedback within a very short cycle. For example, you can activate on the influence, like on TikTok or Instagram, launch a set of new products. You don't even need to have that many SKUs, but targeted marketing campaigns. And then you can immediately know whether this thing is going to stick or not before you secure more inventory. that type of intelligence is what we need. And then part of the other aspect is like, you need to think about, hey, visualization built on top of that data. So we've integrated Tableau as an example on top of our platform. So you have out of the box visualization you can build to power those decision making. Because otherwise, like you're in the spreadsheets, that's so backwards, right? Like we're in the era where you need constant on the go, out of the box tools, data, insights, so you can take actions or have your agents take actions.
I love the part about almost like instant insights, that you're taking advantage of data that you were not able to because you didn't have the time or the resources to do that. And then it's not just about speeding up the process, but allowing you to do analysis real time and take advantage of it. On the other hand, when we're thinking from a time perspective, so we talk about as of today, what has happened, what I can do about it. I also know that long-term sustainable growth has been a key priority for you. So tell us more about maybe your perspective on how do we continue to hop on the trend or opportunities of like what's possible today or what we can do today, but still think about the future's growth.
I think you continue to iterate, right? Like I learn so much every single day from the different projects I work on. And then because of that rapid iteration, so the other thing I really love is Slack. Because it's the most loved collaboration tool. And I really think about, it's not just about human collaborating with agents, it's also human collaborating with human. And let's think about this, right? If you have a system in your company where everybody has the same set of data visualization working towards the same goal, and you get the same feedback, everybody's actually processing that information very differently because of the context we have, where we came from, the experiences and the expertise we do. What do you do with that? You need a platform where you can share that information, people's reactions, and then come up with new ideas. That's what I call like an agentic operating system. Then you're not only powered by super powerful like agentic AI tools with data insights, but also with the human layer, people are able to chime in and give new suggestions based on a set of data. Hey, guess what? My personal experience from the weekend where my kids watched during Labor Day weekend, I kid you not, K-pop Demon Hunters 5 times over last week, 10 times. Like, I have new ideas for what we could use that information for, but it may be very different from your experience. Right? Because you may be thinking about it from like a marketing perspective, whereas I'm thinking about it from a product perspective.
Yes, 100%. And I know that you are kind of leading the portfolio of teams and product teams, engineering teams on making that happen. What I'm hearing is that on this platform, as we continue to have more individual agents working along each other and with humans on this platform, I think scalability is something that's top of mind. So give us a little bit sneak peek into what would you say are some of the operational or like technical challenges that maybe it's top of mind for you to kind of deal with your team?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. As teams grow, they're bigger, right? Then there's something we call team interdependencies. And this may be a smaller problem this is a non-issue when you're a 3-person startup, but when you get to 50, 100, 200 people, to scale the growth, to make sure everybody's charging towards the same mission, vision, then you need the operating system, the people, the process, the technology, all work hand in hand. So I think a lot about, how do I make sure I set up that operating system where people are able to have shared common understanding. And a lot of times that's where I mentioned like using Slack. And we also bring people together to meet together so that there's context that we don't always put it into a document that you can talk about. But when do you free up that time if you're always in this grind of repetitive tasks? You can't, right? So that's kind of where I think about, okay, what are the things people can do? What are the systems we need to build? What it takes to go from 3 to 50 to 100 to thousands of engineers, and thousands of engineers leveraging AI tools. That system has to be modified. So we're constantly thinking about, I mean, that's what my job is, constantly thinking about working with my team, how do you tweak the system so we can adapt and help people adapt to create the most amount of value in the shortest period of time.
I love that. I think when it comes to systems, I would say for many of our audience, although at different scale, everyone has their own system in terms of your teams or just your workflow, who are the people in your ecosystem that they are working with. So I think this perspective helps to understand that it's not just about replacing each individual component with a software AI tool, but more about how can I be part of that with that humanity side of that and make sure every party can now collaborate better with the support or the power of agentic AI.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really important point, which is in the space of commerce, you have a lot of suppliers, partners, distributors. How do you make sure they're all operating across the same set of data to their context that makes sense for them to see? So that if you run into an issue as a CEO, your supplier can see that same set of information only on a need-by basis, right? Because it's data governance, and problem solve together to unlock the potential of the full power of AI agents and systems.
Yes, absolutely. And then since we just mentioned about kind of the scale of our businesses, I think a lot of our audiences might be in the SMB world where you might have a one-person brand or maybe a very small team of family brand, right? So I'm kind of curious, from your experience working with customers across different sizes, is there any kind of differences maybe in how you would encourage our SMB users or followers of the Agentic AI Shift to kind of pay attention to, or how do they participate as someone more on the smallest scale of a business?
Yeah, it's interesting. We always come across as, hey, we're the large enterprise player, right? But in reality, our tools are like super easy. We have Salesforce Starter Pack that, you're setting out to be a business and you can literally spin up a sales cloud to power your salespeople. Maybe initially it's one person, then you start building all the contacts, right? And you could be right now putting it into your own Google contacts, but as you bring more people on, you need to have that rapid cycle of iteration and common visibility, right? So that's one component. I think about, this is the time where you can create the lean agentic startup. Pick the right tool, and then think about how you build teams. The way you scale teams are different. So, in fact, we actually launched the Salesforce startup, a Salesforce Launchpad, specifically for startup owners to get access to a lot of the super powerful tools on day one. And if you get into the program, you're able to get some free access to Slack and a few other, like Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, a few other tools right away and experiment. Because I think that's something, you don't have to. I think playing with smaller business owners, they don't focus on the tool. They just focus on, hey, I just need to grind, which is really important. But if you want to scale, you want to set yourself up for success, you have that bigger vision, you need to think about the tool. If you have a super powerful engine, maybe you're not paying right away, right? Because we're consumption-based, maybe with some small seeds, and then we can grow over time. Then you build the teams differently too. We're in a very different era. In how we scale, we all need to rethink about it to build a competitive advantage. We've already seen companies getting to $100 million ARR within 12 months. What does that mean for you who want to launch or who are already building a commerce, a product, a set of products? How do you expand the products? A lot of those systems and the data will provide that flywheel to supercharge the growth.
100%. I think we have time for one more question. Since you brought up the topic about teams, I want to talk about leadership. So maybe we'll end on the topic about maybe in this agentic AI shift, how do you think the definition of leadership might have changed because of the new teammates we have who are digital, and maybe the future we have where we need to build on top of that expectation?
I think about everybody needs to be AI native. Okay, the term sounds very sophisticated, but it's not. Really, what it means is just play with the tools, get hands-on, and experiment, learn. What does it really mean? Is what I'm trying working, not working? Because of the short cycle, you probably don't need like an entire week to get feedback, right? And whatever that's working, you put it in the market, you get customer feedback, you bring it back into the tool. And thinking about, you were saying like, hey, AI helped me think about a lot of the things I didn't think about. So I'm in AI tools every single day. I cannot live without it. So in this era, I really think about, hey, just get hands-on, test it, very little friction, build it, grind it, and what you learn will make you a better leader tomorrow.
I appreciate that, because what I'm hearing so far for this conversation is first being willing to try things out, but also having in mind the future in terms of teams, in terms of how you operate, how do you structure your business, and while other team members who are product teams are continue to iterate on their products to continue to better meet our needs. All right, well, thank you so much, Vivienne. Appreciate your time. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it.